to the Athletes in Motion podcast, From Race to Recovery, with your hosts, Tom Riegel and Kenny Bailey.
Hey, Kenny, how are you?
I am fantastic. Tom, how are you?
I am fantastic as well. And we have Darrell Myrick with us today. We're very excited to have you, Darrell. Welcome to the show. Darrell is a retired police officer, PD, out in Southern California. He's also a triathlon coach, a badass triathlete,
Nice.
Husband, grandfather. Just all around does a lot of stuff, crazy stuff. So we wanted to talk to Darrell because Darrell let's get back into this. We're getting older. Darrell's much older than us, as you can tell.
Thanks for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Which we welcome all of our guests this way, by the way.
I always dislike Tom.
I've raced with Darrell. I've known Darrell for quite a while. And but Darrell had a heart issue. And that really struck a chord for me because that's one of my biggest paranoias is I'm constantly like doing the scans or trying to figure stuff out and trying to stay on top of it. But Darrell has a very unique story on his heart issue because he kind of knew about it. And then then it kind of blew up on him. So, and here he is. So still crushing it, doing great. But Darrell, welcome to the show. Before I get into that, couple little business things. Please subscribe. Subscribe to the show. Make sure everybody knows about it. And we actually have a few folks in, I think it was Frankfurt, Germany, that have been listening to every single show.
No kidding.
For a long time. And there's a bunch of you out there. Thank you. Send a note. Hi. I don't know how to say it in German, but hey, we appreciate you for sure.
That's crazy.
I was just looking at that data just the other day. I was like, what? And I keep going back episodes like, thank you. We really appreciate that.
Shout out to Frankfurt, right? So
shout out to Germany. We like you guys. Thank you.
We'll have to make a trip there and do a podcast from the road.
Maybe we do that. Yeah. Oh, that would be fantastic.
It'd be a business expense. We can do it. So
there you go. We can write that off. Anyway, Darrell. So welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Let's go back to your training. You've been a triathlete for a long time. So
yeah, I started in the 80s and kind of got away from it after a while. Did some other things. Went back to my roots in swimming. So I tore a rotator cuff and was rehabbing and couldn't swim for 6 months. So I liberated a bike out of somebody's garage, an old Trek 6000. So I fixed it up and started riding again and fell in love with riding again and said, why don't I run some more? And so I ran and triathlons just kind of came into it.
It's crazy that triathlon is usually people that are coming home from an injury in another sport.
Yeah.
And then we add 3 sports to it and then we get injured again. Anyway, it seems odd, but that's what we do apparently.
So
I hooked up with a couple.
What distances were you doing? Were you just doing local races like sprints, doing Olympics?
Well, I started doing Olympics, and when I started riding with a couple of the teams in town, I went into the half Ironman distance and did Oceanside. I think I did Oceanside like 8 years in a row, and just looked at full Ironman and said, "That's just ridiculous. Who would want it? That's stupid. Yeah. Why would you do that? Submit yourself to that kind of torture." But I decided to do one I think I was turning 55 and wanted to do one. So
it's a ripe age to do that, 55.
Yes, did one. Did Coeur d'Alene and did well.
Wow.
I think I finished in 12:01 and
in Coeur d'Alene.
Coeur d'Alene.
Nobody likes you, Darrell. Now I understand why Tom doesn't like you.
They've got some hills there, so I'd go.
That's great. And
then of course that's all I wanted to do. So now halves are sprints and speed work. So I've done 50 miles now, so it's just.
Darrell is the epitome of the Ironman athlete. Yeah. Like that's his distance. Like that's it.
What is it about the Ironman distance that is it because you have to go through 12 hours of fun? That's just, is there like a runner's high or a triathlon high of that distance that just you gravitate towards, or what is it about that distance that you seem to like so much?
It really is. It's just a mental thing. it's something you can just slide into on race day. You know, you're not all amped up. I grew up as a swimmer, and I swam high school, college, and I was a drop dead sprinter. So it was, 50, you have to be totally amped because you are any mistake, mistake on the start, mistake on the turn, you don't pick up your stroke, immediately, and you're done. With an Ironman, it's, I get in the water, it's like, okay, just settle in my stroke and just swim, just get that long, slow, relaxed stroke in and get out on the bike and, start nice and easy and just hold pace and then hang on till mile 20 on the run and see if you got legs left.
See if I got left.
Yeah. Did they fall off, 2 miles ago, or do I still have legs there? And then your race starts, and then you realize, where you are, and if you have to push to catch up to somebody, or if somebody's catching you, or if which never happens. Can I just cruise it on in the last 6 miles and hold this pace? That never happens.
No, it's hold on.
And I got clients. We travel as a group, and a lot of times, if your clients aren't racing, they'll come out in Sherpa, and they're screaming at me. There's a guy catching you. You're 2 minutes behind the guy in front of you, and dang it! I was hoping to just be relaxed and go easy this last couple of miles.
That's awesome.
Turn yourself inside out.
Yeah. So what happened with your heart? Walk us through that, because this is an issue that you kind of knew about, right? That was kind of building with age, I guess.
Yeah,
right?
It was diagnosed when I took the physical for the police department when I was 19. And
okay.
But it was, it wasn't causing any problems, so they just let it go.
So what was it?
It was a mitral valve leak.
Oh,
so the mitral valve, so when it's leaking, your heart pumps and pushes blood forward. If the valve doesn't close, completely, when it opens up to suck blood from the supply side, you're sucking blood back down. And so it's an inefficient way for your heart to work.
Yeah.
But I figured out I had some issues with, Ironman Santa Rosa. I was running third and catching the guy in second. So I was really pushing hard. Mile 13, my heart rate started going nuts. And so I figured I'd just walk a little bit and recover whatever happened. And I tried to run again, and I couldn't see anymore, and I passed out.
Wow.
So I got a nice trip to the hospital. And,
that's usually a bad thing.
Yeah. I woke up with a nurse holding my legs up to get some blood back in my body.
So you got a DNF. You got a DNF.
Body, yeah. So generally, the nurse goes, I got some bad news for you. You're not going to be able to finish. I've done like a couple miles ago.
But did you stop my watch? That's all I care about. Did you stop the Garmin?
Get the data.
I didn't, and I have that data from my heart rate going nuts. And then I have the speed of the ambulance.
That's hilarious.
So
my
per mile pace was really good.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Outstanding. So this is what year? This is not that long ago.
Oh, this was 4 years ago, 5 years ago.
So 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago.
So we're 2020, just before.
Yeah, 2020. So So then I went. That got everybody's attention, and I went to my cardiologist, and he said, "Well, what were you doing?" I said, "Well, I was, taking some caffeine, because I was mile 13, and I was really trying to push hard."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you probably did over-caffeinated and put yourself into AFib." That's what it was when I went down. I went to AFib. My heart went from 150s when I was holding to 220.
Oof.
It's not good for an old heart.
Yeah.
He said, "So we'll just monitor it." And then it was a year later. I was getting ready to go to Ironman, Wisconsin. It was actually the weekend before I was going, and I was having a rough time. I thought I'd overtrained or something, and I went out for a run. Actually, we did a brick. I did a 2.5 mile swim, and we were going to do just a 10-mile run, and I couldn't even get the first mile in. At the pace I was going to run for the Ironman, and I was out of breath, and I go, something's wrong, I'm just not right. And I woke up that night, and I get a panic feeling, impending feeling of dread, and just something wasn't right. I'm at 3 a.m. I'm awake, and I'm going, I should go to the ER. No, I'm debating with myself. You're an idiot. I'm going to tell you there's nothing wrong, and you're going to
yeah.
No, I really need to go. No, I don't. So at 5:00, I went to the ER, and I had 11 blood clots in my lungs. Oh. That is a problem with the heart.
Wow.
The heart valve issue. So, yeah. I didn't tell my wife I was going to the ER. So
you drove yourself to the ER?
I'm going to go get ice cream and just,
It's not the first time. It wasn't the last time either. And so I call her and say, I'm in the ER, and they're admit me. I've got 11 blood clots. And then I had to call the rest of the team I was going with, say, I got to bail out of Wisconsin. So,
yeah.
So I was in the hospital when the race was going on. So that's not the best thing. But
no.
So, that happened. And then I qualified for Kona at Coeur d'Alene again, as it turns out. I've done it 4 times.
So is this the same year?
No, this was 2022. So just
okay. So now we're 2022.
Yeah, the doctors are saying everything's good. I had all of the Wazoo tests and stuff. They said, good. It's a moderate to severe league, but I was still competing at fairly high levels, so they were letting me go. And so I qualified.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That like the rate that you're pushing your body and doing all of that stuff. What was your resting heart rate?
My resting heart rate was 42.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's not pumping efficiently.
No, it used to be lower. When I was younger, my resting heart rate was 38, and my max was like 220.
Wow. That's a range. So
I used to train with a cardiologist. Said, man, I just love to study you. I said, no, you don't want to study me. Yeah. Once you crawl into my head, you'll never get out of there.
There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the story. At Coeur d'Alene, I qualified. It was 109 when I started the marathon. So that was all kinds of fun.
Oh yeah.
And so I was all jazzed. I'm going to Kona in October, and then pandemic really took hold, and they canceled Kona. And so I picked up a couple halves. So I did the half Ironman in Arizona, and I was first off the bike by like 25 minutes. Nobody else in my age group showed up, I guess. And I couldn't run. I just couldn't. My heart rate would just go up to like 170, which is too high for me to maintain to run.
Yeah.
And so I'd have to walk, and it wouldn't go down. And I tried to run again, and I ended up having to just DNF. So I said, well, I took it out too hard. Something was wrong. I'm making all the excuses to myself. Yeah. Didn't drink enough, electrolytes, all the things that could have been. So I did the Indian Wells half. And so I backed the bike way off. I think I averaged 20, and
slacker.
I know. So I picked up the run and go, okay, my heart rate was like 130, on the bike. So I'm really just cruising, and I get off and run, and the same thing. My heart rate just went first off the bike again, and I ended up 5th. So everybody passed me, which was annoying. But I couldn't maintain a heart rate. As soon as I picked up the run, I'd get a quarter mile, and my heart rate would go to 165, 170. And I finally said, okay, something's wrong. Something is really wrong. So the next week I went to my cardiologist. They redid the test that checks the valve, and they said, well, it's let go. So you need
it
surgery.
Gave up. Finally, it just said, Darryl, you win.
They scheduled me for surgery. It was like 2 weeks later. They said, so that's pretty quick
because this is kind of a critical thing at this point. Yeah. This is not like I'll just kind of make it work. They called it
emergency surgery. So
just so we're clear, that thing was blown open, and you did a half marathon on it. You did a half Ironman on it with a blown valve.
Yeah.
Okay. And got 5th.
And then
I didn't say I was smart. Okay?
I know, but it was like, looking back, it's like, wow.
Yeah. So they scheduled me for it, and the very worst part is I go in, and the pre-op, I'm 2 days away from surgery, all ready to go, and they had to cancel it because I came positive for COVID. Totally.
So on top of that, you get
no
COVID.
Symptoms. I'm totally asymptomatic, and so I had to wait 3 weeks, and in that 3 weeks, I went downhill so quickly. I went to my granddaughter's softball game and had to walk across the field to get there, carrying the chair and stuff. I couldn't make it halfway. I had to stop in breast. And so that's how far I had gone. And so I just totally detrained and just completely out of breath. And so I go in and of course, typical me, nothing goes right. And, I came through the surgery well, but I had several bouts of AFib in there. So they had to do an ablation and they had to shock my heart back in rhythm. And I've had 2 more ablations since then. So so it's going, but a lot of other things along the way, little things, cause I stand up and pass out, which generally is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, you can't see this right there.
Oh, nice.
That's a flower pot on my front porch.
Oh, jeez.
I gotta wrap you in bubble wrap every time you stand up.
That's after surgery? So after surgery, you're still...
That was just before surgery,
That was before surgery.
Okay.
Our doctors don't have a sense of humor. Because, hey, I'm the one bleeding. I can make the jokes if I want.
Yeah, right?
That's what happened. I said, my wife hit me with a flower pot, and you got all excited.
PD
It's a joke.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
So
how long did it take you for the recovery then? I mean, you were...
I started it. I couldn't do anything for 3 months. So even walk. I could walk a little bit, but they wouldn't allow me to do hardly anything. And then I got released after about 4 months to really start training, and immediately got COVID. This one was symptomatic, and I had my lungs all full of stuff, and so I was down for about 3 weeks after that, and I started just slowly training, and so it's June 3rd, and I just failed on a 2-mile run, and I just I got like 500 yards in the pool, and my arms just fell off, and so I'm climbing with a friend, a longtime client, and we're climbing Glendora Mountain. It's kind of an iconic climb here in Southern California. It's the old Tour of California used to use that climb to up Baldy Village. So we're climbing up, and it's an 8-mile climb. It averages 5% grade, and it's usually just our warm up to climb up to Crystal Lake, which is another 26 miles up, or go over to Baldy Village and up to the lifts. And I get halfway up, and I had a strict heart limit of 150. And my cardiologist, I don't listen to him too much. So at 165. My legs just completely failed. I was completely out of breath. I'm getting kind of lightheaded. So I'm stopping. I'm halfway up, and this is just a warm up, and I can't do it. So I'm sitting there. It's June 3rd. I've got 3.5 months to train with 2 months of 2 weeks of taper, and I'm going. I can't even get going. And so I really had the heart to heart with myself, and really had to realize what I can and can't do. And when I was in the hospital bed, I had 3 goals. First was to be active, to be healthy enough to be active. I watch my grandkids grow up, be able to chase them around and go to all the stuff that they do. My God, I've got some athletic grandkids. Don't get me started. You don't have the hours to talk about my grandkids. The second one was to finish an Ironman. That was the second goal, and the third was to be able to compete at the level or anywhere near the level I was at. So be active, finish an Ironman, and then really compete again. And so I dialed it back at my expectations. Said, okay, I'm still Iron. Kona's coming up. I had 3.5 months.
Yeah, not just finish an Ironman, but you had the World Championships on the plate because you qualified.
Yeah. So
right.
I just dialed back my expectations to Kona and said, I'm going to hit goal 2. I'm going to finish Kona, because I had, visions of, really doing well at Kona, and it wasn't happening. Yeah. So I got my distances up, and it was about a month when, things started clicking again, where I could see there was some improvement, and this is the first time in my life I'd never demanded stuff in my body and didn't have it respond. And so it was humbling, and patience, Tom knows patience isn't my strong suit. So I was pushing as hard as I could, and then, slowly it was coming back. And I got a 100-mile ride in, I got a 20-mile run in. Oh, walk, jog.
Yeah.
And the swimming, swimming's easy. So just came back. And so I get to Kona, and, I was prepared to stop at any point. I was prepared to stop after the swim if it wasn't right. I was prepared to stop during the bike if it wasn't right. I was prepared to stop on the run, before the run, after the run. If I had pretty much just come to terms with, I'm going to just do what my body will allow. So one of the coolest things I did was I'm sitting, it's 10 minutes before the start of my wave, and I'm sitting my back against a tree, and I'm just sitting there being thankful to be alive.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
30 years ago or 4 years ago, they didn't have the surgery that kept me alive. So I'm alive. I'm at Kona, which is kind of cool. And I'm getting ready to race, and it will be what it'll be. And so out of my hands. And so I got in, I swam. I think I swam an hour and 15, which is kind of slow, but just very relaxed. I looked at all the fish and stuff. The swim at Kona is the coolest thing I've ever done as far as a swim.
I would like to give my eye teeth for an hour and 15 swim, but so your easy one is my goal. So is my dream, just so you know.
Yeah.
Hour and 15. Okay. Sure.
No, I always push. I try to get under an hour in all
like
races,
you do.
But
so
when you come at it from a competitive swimming background,
that's true.
Yes, that's good for you.
Yeah, it is. It's technique based. It's not like running and cycling where you can just pound and get faster.
Yeah.
Your stroke has to be right.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
And it's something that develops. So I'm just sitting there being thankful and just going through. So the swim goes well. I get on the bike. And honestly, up to Hawaii and back down, I was feeling pretty good. I was going slow. I was really keeping the pace down. And then you head up to the scenic overlook, which is heading back into Kona. And it's about a 4 or 5 mile gradual climb that gets a little steeper into a pretty good headwind right there. So that's when it really hit me. And I was really struggling and just getting up over a hill. And so I got done, and my heart rate was way elevated. So I cruised it back down in and finished the bike. And I'm sitting in in T2 and I just sat for 5 minutes, which I never do. It's just I'm always hauling through transition. So just sitting and debating whether I should go or not. And I go, I don't know if I can do it. And I said, well, you can always walk. So I got up, and I actually told myself, have this discussion with yourself while you're walking.
There you go. Yeah.
Exactly. First off, just keep moving.
Keep moving.
Keep moving. And then you can have this conversation while you're moving.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm out, and I'm just walking, and my heart rate is starting to come down. And I had a bunch of clients went with me to root me on, I guess. And so I get to like mile 2, and I'd done some walk jogging and stuff, and they were telling me exactly what I needed to do to finish. And I'd already done the math in my head, so I knew I could, go fairly easy and still finish. So I'm just hanging on. And what I ended up, as I got into it, my body was failing. So I would basically jog until I was too dizzy to run, and then I'd walk until my heart rate came down.
Just rinse and repeat for 26 miles.
You weren't caffeinating yourself while you were doing this, were you? You weren't just like having the Morton, with the super caffeinated.
No, I didn't do any Coke. I was drinking Coke for the last. Okay. We got down to the energy lab. The energy lab was just just sucks the soul right out of your body. It's pretty tough. And so I was drinking Coke, but I was nauseous. My body was not digesting. So once I got out of the energy lab and heading down, I was doing the math, and I knew I could walk it in from there, slow walk in from there and still make it. So I was jogging and walking and jogging and walking and get in, and of course, I walked until you make the turn and head down to the finish line. I made sure I was walked and recovered there, and then ran the finish line.
100%, right?
Damn straight.
And it was all I could do. I was all in, all done. And I get in and they grab me and drag me right into the medical tent because I must have looked like death warmed over. And I get in and there's an ER doc in there and they do my blood pressure. It was 70 over 45,
oh my gosh.
which is kind of low.
Yeah.
So the ER doc, ER docs are great.
Yeah.
As a police officer, you work with the ER staff a lot, and they have brilliant senses of humor, and they pretty much cut right to the chase. And the guy sees the scar, the open heart surgery scar, and he goes, "So what's going on here?" And I told him, I said, "I had open heart surgery in January." He goes, "You're not very bright, are you?" And I told him that's a general consensus. Not that bright.
Yeah.
So they gave me IVs, got some fluid in. I threw up everything that I had taken in for the last probably 13 miles.
Wow.
And then felt great.
That felt awesome.
I didn't pound my legs like I normally do.
GI distress for days, right? So,
yeah. But I wasn't that sore the next day, and
dizzy, but not sore.
What's fascinating is at any point. I mean, obviously the logical terrible end is that you just collapse. I mean, that's it. And how do you? I guess don't try this at home, people. What Darrell's doing, don't try that at home. So
we have to state
the guys in Germany don't do this. Whatever German language.
Do this, yeah.
But I mean, did you fear for your life? I guess would be rather than just fear for like, hey, I can't make it, I got to DNF. I mean, was there a point where you're like, hey, I may be permanently, this may be a point of no return on this, especially when you look at that. I mean, when you're at that blood pressure, you're half a step away from coding.
Yeah, it did cross my mind, and that's why, I'd get dizzy and I'd have a hard time running and have to, pick up the walk.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to go out and go head first. I knew what going head first down into the concrete does to you. There's just no flower pots.
No flower pots to stop you.
There's no flower.
So, it was tough, but, I'm hyper competitive and I just, once I knew I was within striking distance of the finish, but for the first 13 miles, I was ready to quit. I was prepared that if it got real bad early, that I would just give it up, and I gave it a good college try, and that's what it was. But I didn't think I was going to push so hard that I would just expire. I would just pass out. Just pass out.
So.
Just pass out.
Yeah.
Which is the first step to expiring, by the way.
Well, I think, because for me, I have a history of my dad died of a heart attack. His dad died of a heart attack, right? So for me, it would be, I think my oh shit level would be, at a 9 if I was dizzy. I don't know if I could mentally get through that. You know what I mean? In the fact that it's like, is this it? Like, forgive me for asking blunt questions, but I mean, was there an ROI decision in your head? Like, if I keep doing this, I know you had to probably quit on the previous ones before your heart surgery, right? Now that you've seen that the valve is, so they fixed the valve. So were you confident in the surgery? And you were like, look, I think, I think there's I think I still have something in me.
Yeah, I was absolutely confident in the surgery. Yeah. The cardiologist that I go to is really good. Mm-hmm. My heart surgeon was different, and the cardiologist says it's perfect. He says it's as good as it can get. It's better than, says there's nothing wrong with your heart. You just have to push. You just have to get back into shape.
Got it.
And that takes a long time. Yeah. The atrophy, especially when you're in your golden years. Gold is, it's gray years, I guess, because I am 69. I was, 67 at the time. Mm-hmm. You atrophy so quickly, and it takes so much longer to get back. I remember when I was 30, I could take 3 months off swimming and be back into 99% shape in a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. Now, I take a year off, I'm toast. And so I atrophied, and the things, old injuries came up to haunt me. Mm-hmm. And I had an injury that I'd gotten past, and my legs atrophied, and the meniscus was no longer holding in. So I had to have knee surgery in
On
August.
top of that.
Yeah.
So I was able to run for like 9 months and then had the knee surgery in August. And so I'm just now getting back to really anything even looks like running.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
There's a couple of studies that were done just recently, and I can't remember. I have to pull them up. But they were I think they were like using 80-year-olds. Just as it was about building muscle mass. The fact that we lose muscle mass every decade, we lose like 10%, right? So the test was over 6 months, they gave them a regimented strength training workouts, right? And in a 6-month period of time, they were able to gain 2.9% muscle mass, which is good news, right?
Yeah.
Because in your 80s, you can still build muscle mass. The second study, and I don't know how connected the studies were, but there was a second study where they had people be absolutely sedentary, same age group, absolutely sedentary for 1 week, and they lost 3%.
Wow.
Yes.
Muscle mass. So 3% muscle mass and 1 week. That's how quickly it goes away. It took them 6 months to almost make that much muscle mass back. So that's our, we're not quite that old, but it's like
I can hit that with a rock from where I'm at. But.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, we're late 50s. I'm knocking on the door of coming up on 60 myself and, in a couple of years. And it's just like, it's trying to stay on top of this and kind of, we had this conversation about, driving yourself and the, what keeps you going. What was the conversation in your head like when you were going up in June on the ride, climbing up the mountain and going like, I got nothing in here and I've got months to my race. What kind of conversation? Like, well, we could have probably sold tickets to that. It would have been amazing.
Yeah. Again, don't climb into my head. You'll never get out.
Bring lots of popcorn.
It was pretty dark. Honestly, I do tend towards depression if I don't exercise. Exercise is my drug of choice. And, a couple of times in my life where I haven't been able to work out, you get the darkness starts creeping in and you really, it's like the things that I normally wouldn't do, I do, as far as eating or just being, sitting around and not being motivated to do stuff. And so
it's quick to spiral too, right?
It's very
quick to spiral, but you've got grandkids that you talked about, how much you love your grandkids. And that must have played a major role in this, good or bad, right? When you're pushing too much, like you still want to be there for them. When you're not pushing enough, you want to,
That's the logical side.
Yeah.
But the emotional side is not as easily controlled. When depression comes in, and some people don't understand it. When depression comes in, all logic goes out the window. It's it's a very emotional state, and it's very difficult to deal with. And it's hard to just tell yourself, don't be depressed. That's easy.
Well, and your profession doesn't help you out either, right? You're not like coding on a desk job doing, IT stuff. I mean, you were a police officer too at the time. So, or, retired.
Yeah,
so.
Retired. I was assistant chief. So I,
oh, okay. You didn't do anything. All right. You were at a desk. Okay. Never mind.
I did all that.
But
cool
that's
early in my.
But the story that you have, I mean, that's a couple things, right? Is you had to reset yourself to say, okay, I'm just happy to be here, right? You look up, right? Because that's an interesting thing. I remember I was, when I was training to race, when I was racing road bikes, and I had a friend of mine. It's like, my gosh, we're in the most beautiful place, and I finally looked up, right? And you look up, you look around, and in Kona, that was your epiphany moment. You looked up, like, oh my God, I'm sitting in Hawaii, like. This is one of the best, it is legendary, the place you're at right now. And you get the opportunity to still do that. So resetting those expectations. And the other thing is, to your point, hey, you knew it was going to, your surgery wasn't a death sentence on your sport, right? You got the ability to repair yourself. Got the ability to get back. It's not like, well, I had surgery, so I can no longer do this anymore. Not only can you do it, but you also reminded yourself that path isn't going to be, like you said, you're not 30. That path isn't going to be in 60 days, I'm done. It's going to be 6 months, 9 months. Even the race itself was, just sort of resetting. Sometimes you need that kind of smack in the brain to get that reset to to appreciate what you have, right? The fact that the head's down, you know, of course I'm going to get at least third or higher, right? And all of a sudden that gets taken away from you, and you have to kind of reframe your brain to go, okay, you know, the idea of being here is good enough, right?
You really have to take a step back and really look at why we do what we do.
Yeah.
We don't do what we do to get medals and trophies and, you know, accolades. We do it's kind of nice. You know, well, on the way to pick up a couple medals and some cool stuff is great. But we do what we do because, you know, what I call the Ironman lifestyle. It keeps you on the straight and narrow. It keeps you healthy. It keeps you active. It allows you to do all the things that you really want to do. It's not just being alive at 70. It's being alive and being active at 70. Yeah. It's being alive and being able to go to my grandson's, you know, track meets, you know, yesterday and watch him run faster than I've ever run in my entire life. And watch my granddaughter swim and, you know, playing baseball and softball and wrestling and gymnastics and all the stuff that they do. And being able to go and do those things, go on vacation and walk up the Parthenon. Mm-hmm. You know, my wife and I went to the Mediterranean a few years ago before I started having the problems. And all the stuff that you have read about and studied about since you were a kid, there were people in our group, you know, that we were having dinner with that couldn't do those things. They couldn't go see the things that we always, you know, heard about and, you know, the history, because they couldn't go up a couple of hundred steps. They couldn't walk for 2 miles. Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. I want to be there. And you know, walking is easy now. Yeah. You know, it's still easy. And I want to keep it that way. Yeah. And for as long as I can. Well,
the good news too is that you're attuned to your body, right? So you knew something. You're not like a sedentary, to your point. You weren't those people that were sedentary and then they're walking up the stairs and they're like, oh, I'm walking up the stairs. It must just because I'm winded, or we're, you know, in a foreign, you know, we traveled internationally. It's like, hey, wait, this is not right. Like my heart rate shouldn't be spiking. You knew about yourself because you've been testing your body for decades, right? And so that you knew, hey, there's a real problem. This isn't just, you know, you tried to write it off, but your body's like, no, because you push yourself and because of the shape you're in, hopefully the recovery, to your point, was a lot better because your body was able to do that. So because you're an athlete, even though you did have a problem, you knew the boundary, you knew the kind of like, hey, wait a minute, this is not within the normal parameters. So I think I need to go do something, versus, oh, I'm just tired and, you know, I never really push myself, so I don't know how I should feel otherwise. Right. So
the body told me several times before I actually listened. You know,
you're a stubborn fella.
Yeah. Well, stubbornness is an understatement. Yeah. But
occasionally,
your point really came into play with the blood clots. Yeah. Because the doctor said that, he said most people would not have noticed the degradation in your breathing and your oxygen intake because they don't push themselves. Correct. I only knew that because I pushed myself. And he says, if you would have gotten on that plane and gone on vacation, you probably wouldn't have come back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's my point, right? Which is you were tuned enough. So it's not just that, you know, you push yourself, you know, because the question could be, did you push yourself to get injured? It's like, no, it was always there. It's genetic. But by pushing myself, I was able to say, wait a minute, this isn't right, and be able to course correct. Where, like you said, you could be 35,000 feet and that would have been the end of it, right? So,
I think that's a huge benefit of you talk about the Ironman lifestyle, but the triathlon lifestyle, endurance lifestyle, that active thing is that I think the longer we do it, we're almost forced to listen to our bodies at time, because then we realize things. I think it's a long education process for us. The ones that, you know, we've been doing it for years, right? And we learn something new every single year, right? Yeah. And now that we have all those data trackers and everything else, that helps as well. But still, ultimately, it comes down to feel. Yeah. You have to feel it. Yeah. You have to know what it feels like, and you have to know when it's, you know, your body occasionally will, you know, kind of give you some warning shots and tell you something's wrong, and you'll be like, yeah, it's not right. It's not wrong.
Well, there's a difference between, you know, being sore and like, hey, I'm out of shape, and wait a minute, this is just fundamentally not right. Yeah. Right. I shouldn't be spiking from 130 to 170 like that. Like, this is a fundamental problem versus.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And those things, you have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to those things, because you could be overtraining, even if you're doing the right things. You could be overtraining. Your heart rate's not recovering. Yeah. And the data that we get is fantastic. But, you know, Scott Molina, Tinley, Dave Scott, all those, Mark Allen, those guys had Ironman Timex watches.
Yeah.
You had to start and stop for time. That's all they ran.
Yeah.
And those guys were awesome. So, one of the things that we do, I have my clients do, we have no watch runs.
Nice.
Yep.
You go out and run, and you just run by feel, and you estimate how fast you're going. You estimate your heart rate. You estimate, what you have left in the tank. And then when you're done, then you reflect on that. And what we find, and what I found out a lot with my clients, is that when they're not paying attention to their heart rate, when they're not paying attention to pace, they run faster.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's like they break through because those are limiters. So the technology is fantastic. It allows you to learn your body much quicker and know what you can hold. But it can also be a limiter. So because you get too dependent on the very expensive, cool watches we have.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because RPE, rate of perceived effort, you can, if you look down and like, wow, I shouldn't be doing 300 watts right now because, that seems like a lot, but it feels okay.
Yeah.
But my computer tells me I shouldn't be there. It's one thing to use it as a way like, hey, I need to, back to your point, I need to control, I need to throttle, right? I don't want to overcook myself. But I love the fact that you're doing that with your clients because I think that's to your point, I think we're such a slave to, I am looking at my left, right, 5149 and what's my average watts and, what's my, the whole, I love it. I love data. Love it. But to your point, I think absolutely, we're slipping into kind of the slave to data rather than.
And I think that data, the watches like Garmin's, I think like 82% accuracy. The Apple Watch is somewhere around that range. So they're not 100% accurate either. So there is a big wiggle room in there.
Yeah.
So the rate of perceived exertion or effort is huge. If you can tie those two together, that's what it's about.
Yeah. But it also works out well on the other end, right? If you're doing that sort of that zone 2, like don't get your heart rate above 140 because you're trying to get more efficient. That's great to have that, right? It's a good tool, but I think you're right. Sometimes we rely on the tool a little too much versus rely on, hey, I'm kind of having a good day. I think I'm just going to go run, see what happens. Right?
Yeah. When it's really important is for guys they're a little amped at beginning races as a governor. Yeah. So go back through all your data and figure out what your FTP is, and you set your watts goal for the bike. And everybody, when they first get on the bike, you're excited to be on the bike, you're excited to get out, but you got 112 miles to go, so it's going to take a little time. Yeah. And you don't want to set a PR in the first 56 miles of the bike on an Ironman. That generally is bad. So what we do is we have a hard set base for watts for the first 20 miles, for the first 40 miles, for the first 60 miles, and then you roll into feel. If you're at 80 miles, do a very honest self-evaluation and see exactly what you think you have left. Yeah. And still have legs for run. If you feel like you've pushed a little bit hard, back off a little bit. Yeah. If you feel like you hit it right on the nose, then go. And then, if you feel like you went too slow, then pick it up. And you're going to make up some time. Yeah. But, you have to have that. And it's hard to, because they have all this data. The data is great, but every day is different for every athlete. Yeah. And so, you have all this data, but this data, it didn't come along when you were tapered. Yeah. And it didn't come along when you were racing with other people and on the big stage and everything else. So it's just a basis to start from, and it's basically a governor. And then you have to do that honest self-evaluation halfway through, 2/3 of the way through, 3/4 of the way through the race, and figure out what do I have left. And then go finish the bike and then do the same thing on the run. Start slow and build. Yeah. And I had a client that won Ironman Arizona, and he started third off the bike, and I had him at an easy pace for the first 6 miles of the run, and he was like maybe 10 minutes behind the guy who was in second place, and he was losing a minute per mile for the first 3 miles to that guy. And he's
chomping at the bit.
Stick to the plan. Yeah. And so after 3 miles, then he was running the same pace as that guy. Then after 6 miles, he was making up 30 seconds per mile. Yeah. At the end, he was gaining on the guy by 3 minutes per mile because the guy had just blown up, and he ended up winning. So
There you go.
Nice.
he gets to go to Nice now. I got 2 clients heading to Nice.
That's awesome.
why
Nice.
we're climbing so much right now. I am actually just running them up and down the mountains all day. It's
Yeah,
love.
you've got the mountains there for it too. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Baldy.
look at Nice and the elevation,
It's
and
insane.
then you look at the climb to Crystal Lake, and it's very comparable, very
Yeah.
comparable. You know, not exactly the same, but very similar type of climb, very similar as far as grades go. You know, we've got the sections that I think we're talking about between the first and second bridge climbing to Crystal Lake. It's 8 to 12% grade for a mile, and so it really pushes you a bit, and then it flattens out a little bit, and it's up and down, and it's 26 miles of all kinds of fun.
Yeah, no kidding. When you have an older client versus a younger client, when you got somebody that is 26 or 30 versus somebody that's 56, how do you approach it differently? Or is it recovery more, or what tends to be the fundamental difference between the two?
The recovery, you need more rest, and you need more rest. You really need to focus on sleep more. You need to focus. Everybody should be focusing on that, but it is absolutely critical for your seasoned athletes. Your golden
We'll call them
years.
that.
Seasoned. I like that.
Yeah, it's like
Seasoned
putting salt all over me or something. But the seasoned athletes really need to focus on sleep. They need to focus on nutrition, hydration, even more. And I have, again, a client that's qualified for Nice. He's just was having a hard time sleeping, and we took a look at. Pulled out everything, and he took a look at his heart rate and saw that he wasn't recovering. So he's on 4 days of rest.
Yeah.
He can walk and he can spin real easy, but nothing hard. And he's pushing really hard to build the power to get up over the mountain in Nice. And so, but your body only let you go so hard. At some point, the diminishing returns from your efforts, you're going to get less with more.
Yeah.
And that's just not what you want to do. So your body doesn't get strong from training. Your body gets strong from recovering from training. So absent that component, what you're doing is you're just staying in a constant state of fatigue and not recovering and really realizing the gains that you're really working so hard for.
Sure.
So.
Yeah. And for those athletes that like to beat themselves and destroy themselves for every single workout, and they don't feel like it was a good workout unless they're absolutely destroyed. This is a big note.
Yeah, but you're used. Darryl, but you're
training.
kind of a unique creature. You're used to that, right? That's the thing, right? Because I think there's been more than a couple of times where I know I've walked in. You did your taper week, but you're going into the race pretty exhausted. Like you're going to the race where you feel fatigued, right? You don't feel fresh. I always think of it as a coiled spring, right? I want to be able to hit that race like I coiled up, like I'm ready to unleash because I've had a good rest and I'm ready to go. But there's sometimes you kind of go in, you're like, okay, and you're like, to your point, you just didn't allow for that recovery. And now you're wondering why you're having a mediocre race. And it's like, well, I didn't. 4 days is a lot. You tell an endurance athlete to take a rest for 4 days. That's like
2 days.
Yeah. It's like
they have a heart attack.
4 days. What? 4 days? Like, great. There goes all my gains. I hope you're happy. You know what I mean? It's just
tell an athlete that they're going to have 2 rest days in 1 week, and they absolutely just go mental.
Yeah.
The only client that doesn't listen to me is me. So I am by far my worst client.
You should fire yourself.
There you go.
But again, a lot of the stuff. What I'm really finding, the longer I get into it, the more I'm realizing how important the easy days are. We call it stupid easy. You got a stupid easy day. You're going to go out and you're going to run 15 miles. And you're going to take your Ironman pace and add 2 minutes to the mile. And that's what your pace is. We call it stupid easy because anybody sees you running that slow, you're going to feel stupid. So and it's the harder you run. I mean, the faster you run, the more damage you do to your joints. I mean, the more pressure you put on everything, the more the impact is. And you get a big benefit even from running slow, especially if you're running up grade. So running slow is a good way to build that big base, and then you drop in a reasonable speed workout once a week, and it really seems to work. And it's and then starting the Ironman run very conservatively is by far the best thing that we do. And I got another guy that's going to Nice. He finished, he podiumed at California, and he was, the guy that was ahead of him, that he bumped off the podium, started like a half hour before he was. So we knew exactly what time he had to do to get to the finish line ahead of him. And so, I'm at mile 5 and I'm at mile 3 and I'm at mile 2 yelling at him, telling him what he's got to do. He ran the last mile and a half at sub 8-minute miles.
Nice.
He beat the guy by 11 seconds.
Wow.
Nice.
I don't know how he did it.
That's
and I told him
that.
I told him, I said, I honestly don't know how you did that.
Yeah.
He says, you said I had to go, and I went.
Yeah.
And I went.
Listen to me.
Yeah. Well, the fact he had it in the tank.
Cool.
Yeah, I did the opposite in California. I had a 40-mile-an-hour headwind, so all of that, rate of perceived effort and all those watts just went out the window, right? And then when I got to the run, I think my first mile was like a 7:30. I was just so happy to be off the bike. And then I completely blew up the first. I'm like, because it's slightly downhill, and I get done with the first mile, I look down, because you feel so slow, right? You get off this bike, and I ran at 7:30. I'm like, that was a huge mistake. And then, it went downhill from there.
But you can only do that at Lake Placid. Lake Placid, you can't not run fast because it's all downhill. It's steep downhill for the first 3-4 miles.
Yeah.
So you just let gravity take hold, and you just go flying down there at like 7:30s.
Yeah.
And that's just normal. Do each loop that way.
So Darryl, we're glad you're with us. You said your knee was reconstructed?
With us here or with us,
with us in spirit, with us on this earth still.
With us.
You didn't. You've tried many times not to be, and you just will not. You will not die. So, what do you? So you said you had knee surgery for a while. You're back after that. Are you training for anything now, or what is on the docket for you?
I didn't sign up for it, but I had targeted Hanu doing the half Ironman in Kona. We got, I think, eight of our group are going.
Nice.
But my run's not there, and I'm not going to really try and just go in just to finish. I want to be ready to race again. So I've kind of looked. There are a couple of half Ironmen that are close that give me a couple of more months, because my running is starting to catch now. Finally, starting to catch. And so I think with 2 more months, I'll be able to at least put in a decent effort. And so I'm looking at Ironman Boise, or maybe Oregon, or one of the ones up in Washington.
Sweet.
And then I am signed up for La Quinta in December. So and that's a local race, and I've done that one a bunch of times. And the bike course is so cool. It is so fun race, so fast. Yeah, as long as there's no wind. Yeah, to your point.
There's always wind, but you'll.
Yeah, as long as it's headwind, tailwind, you're okay. Yeah. If it's all sidewind, it's miserable.
Yeah, and I did Oregon on the half. It will be your PR race. I mean, it's a 12.5 mile river. I mean,
really?
Miranda Caffrey did it in, I think, 13 minutes, 14 minutes. It's insanely fast.
I avoid those. It takes away my advantage. That's why
it does. People like me. But, the bike's relatively flat. The run's really nice. It's a beautiful. It's like it was 82. I mean, it's a good course. I think you.
Somebody tested the swim course at California, and they jumped in with a big rubber ducky or something and floated down in an hour and 50 minutes. There are guys who are getting out, guys that I know, in my age group that I swim with, that are usually around an hour. They are getting out in 48, 49 minutes. And then guys that were looking at 2 hours were getting out in an hour and 10. So it really does take away some of the advantage.
Yeah.
I want to go the other way.
Upstream.
Swim up against the current.
I want the guys that are, pounders on the bike to have to put in a full 2 hours and 20 minutes on the swim and be dead.
Yeah.
It's an interesting course, but it's a fun one. I think if you're trying to PR, that's a good one to get. So. Yeah.
So Boise looks pretty interesting.
Boise looks good.
Yeah. I like Idaho. I've done Coeur d'Alene 4 times, and it's just a nice place. Boise is a lot different than Coeur d'Alene. It's more desert than Coeur d'Alene is all forested.
Yeah, there you go.
Still, there's some old retired guys from my PD that are living in Boise, so I can catch
There
up
you
with
go.
them.
Oh, cool.
Might be able to stay for free.
Oh, there you go.
Even better. Yeah, I was
right?
gonna say. It costs us enough anyways. If you get free lodging, that's a plus.
Seriously.
Yeah, and it's it's an expensive sport, and it's tough.
Yeah, I'm thinking about doing Formula One to save some money. So
It's definitely cheaper.
I told my wife, I said, I could do cocaine and stay thin like I am in Ironman and save money if we can just do it that way. Because the amount of carbon fiber it's costing me and the travel time. It's like, I might as well just do drugs and make myself thin.
I've got two good bikes, and I'm staying with them right now. You look at the new bikes and you go, those are bike porn and stuff. But I can't justify my bike. I've got a Shiv S Works, and it's still faster than I am. So
there you go.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
Yeah, It's good enough.
Cool. Darryl, thank you so much. It's great to catch up with you. Great to hear your story. We really appreciate you coming on and joining us and sharing. Thanks everybody for your questions, your comments. Give us the thumbs up, 5 stars, all that good stuff that gets the algorithm, pumps us up so more people outside of Germany can hear us and check it in. And shout out to those guys again as well.
Okay. For the guys in Germany, I'm 1/4 German.
Okay, there you go.
I did the
even better. You'll love this episode.
Testing, so I am 1/4 German.
There you go.
You're 1/4 German. Outstanding.
The beer drinking quarter.
The beer drinking quarter. Cool. So, everything is good. We appreciate you, Darryl, Kenny.
Yep.
It's been fantastic. And for everybody, we'll catch you on the next show.
Thank you guys so much.